Welcome to the COSMOS Ecosystem News Roundup. Here are the top stories in COSMOS in the second half of October. Welcome DYDX to COSMOS. The DYDX V4 Genesis launch was successful. What's next? What are the alpha and beta phases? When will trading be enabled? Until when will DYDX V3 still be available? All the information that you need to know is in this episode. nBTC and IBC. Nomic upgraded to support IBC transfers of nBTC. A new BTC yield is now possible in the COSMOS ecosystem. CELESTIA launch. CELESTIA is finally here, and a new Osmosis project will bridge the interchain to the modular ecosystem. ICF Delegation Program. The ICF evaluated applications submitted during October. What are the next steps? When will the new selected validators be announced? When will the new delegations be completed? All details about the ICF Delegation Program Cycle 2 are in this video. Stride Host Chain Delegation Program. Following the recent approval of several governance proposals, both in Cosmos Hub and Stride, finally the new host chain delegation cycle of Stride can start to improve decentralization and support the validators, adding the most value in terms of both community and engineering contributions. We cover all details that led to delegation delay and what are the next steps. Secret Network Roadmap 2024. We cover in detail the roadmap, including also the Shade Protocol Roadmap 2024. Major Injective milestones. Official data integration and availability on Google Cloud for Injective. This was previously only offered for Ethereum and Bitcoin. BitGo officially integrates INJ, providing INJ institutional custody and staking to over 1,500 institutional clients over 50 countries. Focus sections about Osmosis, Injective, Secret Network, Persistence, Juno, Stride, and crypto regulations and compliance updates with MME. All this and much more in this episode. And now for today's top stories. The DYDX V4 chain genesis finally happened on October 26. This is a major milestone achieved, so we will review the process that led to this milestone and what is next for DYDX V4 in the coming weeks and months. The DYDX Foundation developed an Ethereum smart contract to bridge DYDX tokens from Ethereum to the new DYDX V4 chain on Cosmos. From the 27th of September of 2023 until the 13th of October, a migration window was open for Genesis validators. What does this mean? Basically, Genesis validators had around 2 weeks to buy DYDX tokens on Ethereum and use the Bridge smart contract to bridge these tokens to the new V4 chain. The idea was that on the 13th of October, the migration window would end, and this would be the snapshot for Genesis. Only the tokens bridged during these 2 weeks would appear just after Genesis. This is relevant for two reasons. Firstly, there is no inflation in DYDX V4, and rewards won't be enabled until a later beta phase weeks after Genesis. Secondly, there is an 86,400 blocks delay for bridge DYDX tokens to arrive in the new V4 chain. This is approximately 31 hours. So for the first 31 hours after Genesis, the only native DYDX tokens were those bridged during the migration window of 27th of September to the 30th of October. However, there were two surprises after Genesis regarding validators. It seemed that some validators not part of Genesis set also bridged tokens during the migration window, so these tokens were included in the Genesis. This is why, although there were 25 Genesis validators, just after Genesis, a new validator appeared, since the tokens arrived directly and didn't have to wait the 31 hours delay. The second surprise was related to the fact that the Genesis validators didn't self-stake all the bridge tokens. They left some native DYDX tokens unstaked. So, other validators were trying to get some native DYDX tokens to join the active set before the 31-hour delay. It seems at least one validator succeeded on this and got one native DYDX token from some Genesis validator and joined the active set. After the 86,400 blocks, which were around 31 hours, all the DYDX tokens bridged before Genesis after the 30th of October, meaning after Genesis migration window started to arrive. The bridging UI was released the 30th of October, but before the UI, more DYDX tokens continued to arrive. while DYDX recommended to wait for the UI for bridging. A significant amount of people used the bridge before the UI was ready. After Genesis, the focus of DYDX v4 will be on the alpha phase. This is a period to bootstrap the security of the v4 chain by bridging and staking DYDX tokens. Enough DYDX tokens need to be bridged and staked in a decentralized way to the validator set. If not enough DYDX is bridged, and if these tokens are not staked in a decentralized way, the next beta phase won't start. Before trading can be enabled, it is critically important that the security of the v4 chain is sufficient. If the alpha phase is successful, a governance vote on the v4 chain will start the next beta phase, with trading and rewards enabled, although still not the full functionality until the end of the beta phase. If you are a trader in DYDX v3, you might be wondering what will happen to v3. The answer is that both v3 and v4 will continue running in parallel for several months, while DYDX is being bridged and staked in the new v4 chain. After another 6 months, once all the activity and tokens have migrated to the v4 chain, then the v3 version will be discontinued. There won't be inflation in v4 to reward stakers and validators. Instead, the trading fee revenue from v4 will be used as staking rewards to encourage staking and thus ensure the security of the v4 chain. While not confirmed by DYDX Trading, some sources mention that DYDX Trading will continue receiving the trading fee revenue from the v3 chain until it is discontinued. But all the trading fee revenue from v4 will go to stakers and validators. Something important as well is that the DYDX Foundation didn't delegate to validators, so they're letting the DYDX and Cosmos communities choose validators and stake with the priority of decentralization, performance, and security. If you check the performance and uptime of validators for the last 3 months in the Cosmos Hub, you will see that we are constantly in the top 3 out of a total of 180 validators. We're also DYDX v4 chain validators, and we will bring the same or better performance to DYDX. In addition, we have been releasing educational content about DYDX v4 for a long time. And if you check the DYDX v4 MEV dashboard, you will see our great ranking here as well, indicating that we are an honest validator and not performing any MEV. Many DYDX delegators have already chosen to stake with us. If you would also like to stake with us and contribute to securing DYDX, we included below the link to delegate. Thank you. The DYDX token of the DYDX v4 chain will provide several utilities, such as governance participation and receiving staking rewards for helping to secure the network. However, the staking rewards won't come from inflation, but from trading fee revenues from the DYDX v4 perps exchange. The rewards will also be special because not only DYDX will be received, but also USDC, since all perpetual contracts in DYDX are settled and margined in USDC. An important remark also about the governance utility of the DYDX token is that only staked DYDX may participate in governance. In addition, unless stakers decide to vote themselves, validators inherit the voting weight of their stakers. During the month of October, the ICF reviewed the applications submitted for the second round of the delegation program. The new selected validators will be announced in November, and the new delegations completed before the end of November. For the Cosmos Hub, a total of 126 applications were received, very similar to the amount received in the first round last year. From these 126 applications, 36 came from validators out of the active set. This is also very similar to the first round. After the selection process in the first delegation round, a total of 93 validators received delegation. This means that only a few validators outside the active set from the around 36 applications qualified and received delegation. Because the condition is that the ICF delegation needs to push them into the active set, so only those with the highest score can qualify. For the first round, the minimum amount to join the active set was much lower than now, which is around 100,000 ATOM, which means that it's even more challenging for validators out of the active set to qualify. Hence, it is likely that a total of around 90 validators will receive delegations in the second delegation round, similar to the first round. Another important change in the second delegation cycle is that it will last for 12 months instead of 6 months. which was the duration of the first cycle. In the second delegation cycle, the ICF is also putting a strong emphasis on decentralization via the new CAP system for points, as you can see indicated here. The top validators by voting power are excluded, and up to the 100th validator, there is a variable cap on the total amount of points that validators can receive. The largest validators have more resources and hence can get a higher number of points from more contributions. So thanks to this cap system, now the competition will be more balanced and delegations will contribute to increasing decentralization and hence the security of the Cosmos Hub, which is even more important since now the Cosmos Hub is providing security to consumer chains. An important point to remember about the CAP system is that the snapshot to determine the voting power of each validator to apply the CAP system was taken on October 1st. This means that the CAP system won't be applied at the time of delegations, but based on the snapshot from the 1st of October. The CELESTIA Foundation is based in Liechtenstein and was responsible for coordinating the Genesis validators and collecting the Genesis transactions ahead of the mainnet beta. Following this mainnet beta launch, it will be possible for rollups and other modular chains to use CELESTIA as data availability and consensus layer. CELESTIA also mentioned that additional features could be added to the mainnet beta, such as, for example, deploying Blobstream to Ethereum mainnet so that the L2s could use CELESTIA modular data availability. Nomic upgraded to support IBC transfers of nBTC. This is a major milestone since users are now able to deposit native BTC and use it to earn yield, for example, on Osmosis. In our previous episode, we covered in-depth nBTC, Nomic, the NOM token, and compared nBTC to wrapped BTC and a native wrapped BTC on Osmosis, explaining how nBTC is more decentralized, secure, and permissionless than wrapped BTC. If you haven't watched our previous episode, we highly recommend you watch to learn everything you need to know about nBTC. The Cosmos Hub Proposal 833 Talparam change set a validator liquid staking cap to 100% passed, with a large majority of yes votes, both from validators and from individual accounts. Thanks to the passing of this proposal, now this validator liquid staking cap parameter has been set to 100%, and hence it has now been disabled. Previously, this parameter was set to 50% without any previous discussion, causing a delay for the new Stride Cosmos Hub host chain delegations, since this parameter was blocking delegations to some of the selected validators. In addition, this parameter was restricting liquid staking delegations to the smaller validators, thus increasing further centralization risk of the Cosmos Hub. Since this parameter has now been disabled, Stride will now be able to finally complete the delegations for a new 6-month cycle of the Cosmos Hub host chain delegation program. This is a new interesting idea in the Cosmos Hub forum to improve decentralization and to scale and accelerate the Atom economic zone. This idea is called the vote power tax. If this idea is implemented, the decentralization of the Cosmos Hub will greatly improve over time, and small validators will have the resources to run over 5 new consumer chains. So, how would this work? The idea is to penalize and add a new centralization tax. This means, for example, that if you are staking your Atom with one of the largest validators, you would pay the centralization tax. If you don't want to pay this tax, you could redelegate to smaller validators, so you avoid paying this tax, and in doing so, you would contribute to increasing the decentralization. But where will all this new collected tax go? Instead of just sending this to the community pool, for example, the suggestion is to equally distribute this collected tax amongst all the 180 Cosmos Hub validators. We think this idea is great, because thanks to this, even the smallest validators would then have the resources to run many consumer chains, and the soft opt-out wouldn't be needed. Since consumer chains cost won't be such an issue, the AEZ growth could accelerate. Therefore, we think that this vote power tax is a great idea and should be implemented soon. Remember that the IBC Summit will happen on the 14th of November in Istanbul. The goal of this event is to introduce IBC to the Ethereum developer community. The event will include talks, workshops, panels, and also hackathons. This event will have several organizers, including the ICF and Polymer. Osmosis announced Pipette. Via IBC, Osmosis connects directly to Celestia and Pipette connects directly to each rollup. Pipette enables the following for Celestia rollups: cross-chain payments using any token available on Osmosis, improving TIA accessibility across the modular ecosystem, accessing Cosmos asset easily via Osmosis liquidity, and quickly spinning up new markets for rollup assets. In summary, Pipette unlocks bilateral liquidity in Celestia rollups and the Cosmos ecosystem, and also helps to solve UX challenges. Pipette also uses CW Hyperlane, which is a Hyperlane implementation in CosmWasm. Thanks to CW Hyperlane, Osmosis is able to bridge the interchain to the modular ecosystem. The Juno halving was implemented, and now the inflation has been reduced to 10%, and the staking APR to around 17%. Until the maximum supply is reached, there will still be another 10 halvings. pStake shared a draft proposal in the Cosmos Hub forum requesting 600,000 ATOM from the community pool. The goal of this proposal is to use 350,000 ATOM to be liquid staked with pStake, and 250,000 ATOM to be paired with STK ATOM for LPing on the decentralized exchanges, Astroport and Dexter, and build liquidity for STK ATOM. The initial duration suggested is 1 year. Regarding the specific distribution for the 250,000 ATOM for LPing, it would be 150,000 ATOM for the STK ATOM/ATOM pool on Astroport and Neutron, 100,000 ATOM for the STK ATOM/ATOM pool on Dexter, and 60,000 ATOM for the STK ATOM/IST pool on Dexter. Secret Network released the 2024 roadmap. The first part of the roadmap is related to making Secret Network a confidential computing hub, with connectivity between Secret and other ecosystems. A major part of the roadmap will be to fulfill the Secret Ethereum vision, first announced in August, with the 3 main goals: offering privacy as a service on EVM to enable any EVM developer to quickly and easily build applications that use confidential computing. Also offering EVM-like user and developer experience on Secret. In order to offer easier onboarding of Ethereum users to native confidentiality apps on Secret Network. The third goal will be building up the confidential computing constellation. This is related to the combination of several confidential computing technologies, as well as app chains that will run on Secret Network. However, to enable this, replicated security capabilities would need to be added to Secret. Another major part of the roadmap is related to networks infrastructure. In terms of the security, a highlight is addressing threshold encryption with MPC addition to Secret for either seed generation or private key sharing, and this is expected in early 2025. Scalability and decentralization are the other 2 major components of the network infrastructure part of the roadmap. Regarding the community roadmap, the focus will be on business development and partnerships, public goods and allocation, and tokenomics. 2 interesting highlights from the community roadmap is the SCRT Labs delegation review, with an expected well-structured process and a 12-month cycle. Also, there will be soon an announcement regarding the renewed grants program. Shade Protocol also released a 2024 roadmap, and a major highlight from the roadmap is the Shade Perpetual Swaps, which will increase the ability of users to privately hedge using a powerful leverage product. Serenity Shield Strongbox is a promising project focused on the secure storage for confidential data, and it uses Secret Network's privacy-preserving smart contracts. Amongst the various features of Serenity Shield, some highlights include a heritage solution allowing secure transfer of data ownership, storage management, and recovery of confidential data, scalability, or NFT keys. The Serenity Shield Strongbox solution is also offered for financial institutions, and a VASP license was obtained in the EU. The mainnet release happened at the end of October. It is great to see many institutional projects and solutions leveraging the privacy offered by Secret Network, such as Secret's privacy-preserving smart contracts, in the case of Serenity Shield. Here in this diagram, you can see where the Secret Network smart contracts are used within Serenity Shield. Helix introduced pre-launch futures. This allows traders to access major tokens before their official launch. For example, Helix is the only place to trade Celestia's TIA before the official launch. By trading TIA pre-launch futures on Helix, it is possible, for example, to hedge your TIA tokens before the airdrop unlocks. Injective Nexus was announced, which is Injective's official data integration and availability on Google Cloud. What does this mean? Core chain data from the Injective network will be accessible in BigQuery through the Analytics Hub, which is Google Cloud's exclusive data sharing platform. This is very significant because until now, Google Cloud only offered BigQuery datasets for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, both developers and enterprises can interact with custom datasets across the Injective network, such as transaction data, for example. Why is this important? Because now institutions can use bespoke Injective datasets for several use cases, such as building DeFi applications, the creation of advanced smart contracts, and more. In summary, this integration with Google Cloud is a major milestone towards making Web3 data conveniently accessible for mainstream adoption. Another great news for Injective is that BitGo has officially integrated Injective. BitGo is a global leader in institutional crypto custody with over 1,500 institutional clients in over 50 countries. What does integration mean? Now major institutions can hold 𝐰𝐿 in qualified custody, can stake 𝐰𝐿 from qualified custody, and integrate REST APIs for Injective. This integration of 𝐰𝐿 in BitGo is helping to advance institutional DeFi adoption. There are some important updates regarding the new Stride host chain validator set for the Cosmos Hub. Firstly, the Cosmos Hub proposal 833 to set the validator liquid staking cap parameter to 100% to disable it passed. This means the previous 50% individual validator liquid staking cap limit, a parameter introduced without previous discussion, has now been disabled. Therefore, smaller validators are no longer restricted and can receive any delegation amount from liquid staking providers. This is great news for decentralization, since the previous 50% cap parameter introduced without any discussion increased the risk of further centralization in the Cosmos Hub, and was restricting liquid staking delegations to smaller validators. This parameter was the reason for a delay in the Stride redelegations to the new selected validator set for the Cosmos Hub, which was approved by Stride governance on the 24th of September. Since this parameter has now been disabled thanks to the Cosmos Hub proposal 833 passed, Stride will now be able to redelegate to the new selected validator for the second delegation cycle. And this parameter will no longer be an issue. The LSM also introduced a validator bond requirement. Stride will be requesting that the selected validators bond enough ATOM to accept 1.5 times their expected delegations from liquid staking providers. The Stride governance proposal 221 passed to give permission to Stride until the 15th of December of 2023 to temporarily adjust the weights of the newly selected validators according to the total validator bond that they have. After the 15th of December, Stride won't make any more changes to the governance-approved weights, and the second delegation cycle will continue for the period of 6 months, as the first delegation cycle. We would also like to mention that many people seem to not be aware of how Stride selects validators for the host chains. Some people seem to think that it is a centralized process where Stride just selects a few validators. This is absolutely incorrect. First of all, Stride is contributing a lot to decentralization because they separate the applications received in 4 quartiles depending on voting power, and they delegate 25% of their liquid stake tokens equally across each of the 4 quartiles, meaning that delegations are spread across the entire active set, thus contributing to improving the decentralization. The second very important point is that Stride doesn't select or choose any validator. So in the case of the Cosmos Hub, who chose the validators? Anyone could apply to be part of the Evaluation Council to score validator applications. Stride suggested a council with 5 members from the applications received to the Cosmos Hub governance, and the Cosmos Hub voted and approved this council. This council then evaluated all applications. Each validator received 5 scores, 1 from each council member, and from this, the average score of each validator was obtained. The coordination with the council members and the management of the delegation program was not done by Stride, but by Robo McGobo. Finally, validators were organized in 4 groups according to their voting power, and the top 8 validators in each of the 4 groups with the highest average scores were selected. When 2 validators in the same group had the same score, the validator with the lower voting power was prioritized. Also, not all the 8 selected validators in each group received the same delegation. Those with the highest average scores received more delegation, and the weight decreased until validators in position 8th. From position 8th until 3rd, there is a linear increase in the weights, and those in position 2nd and 1st receive larger weights than a linear increase. In addition to supporting decentralization, Stride also supports validators who are adding a lot of value in terms of engineering and community contributions. The selected validators earned it with great community and engineering contributions that were well scored by the Evaluation Council. So we think it is great that Stride is supporting the validators going above and beyond and adding the most value. Finally, there were important eligibility requirements in terms of the uptime and governance participation. Many validators rarely vote on governance proposals, so they were not eligible for the Stride delegation program since the requirement was at least 70% governance participation in the last 10 governance proposals. Also, an uptime above 99% for the last 3 months was required, meaning that only the validators with the best performance and doing upgrades fast and so on were eligible. In summary, the Stride host chain delegation program contributes to the decentralization of the host chains by delegating across the entire active set and supports the validators, adding the most value to the host chains in terms of community and engineering contributions. Furthermore, due to the demanding eligibility requirements, Stride also contributes to encouraging more active governance participation and voting, as well as better performance and uptime. The 4 quartiles idea is especially good in our opinion, because how is a validator at the bottom of the active set able to compete with a validator in the top 20? The resources are very different. With the quartiles idea, the competition is made fair. Validators in the bottom 25% by voting power compete with other validators here. Validators at the top 25% by voting power compete with other validators here, and so on. G20 adopts IMF FSB synthesis paper on crypto regulation. At the 4th meeting of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors, or FMCBGs for short, which meets to discuss global economic and financial issues, the FMCBGs adopted a Joint International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and Financial Stability Board, FSB, working paper on identifying and responding to macroeconomic and financial stability risks associated with crypto assets. In its press release, the G20 wants to call for swift and coordinated implementation of the G20 roadmap, including implementation of policy frameworks, outreach beyond G20 jurisdictions, and global coordination, cooperation, and information sharing, and addressing data gaps. The IMF FSB working paper supports the idea of prudent supervision of cryptocurrencies rather than an outright ban. Its key proposals include international cooperation and information sharing among regulatories and a call for comprehensive governance and risk management frameworks for cryptocurrency firms and ensuring access to relevant data shared by these firms with government authorities. The working paper provides a principles-based global framework of recommendations and standards to help guide authorities' policy actions to address risks to financial stability, financial integrity, market integrity, investor protection, prudential, and other risks associated with crypto assets. The working paper also advocates adoption of the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF for short, anti-money laundering, AML, and counter-terrorist financing, CFT standards to address financial integrity risks and reduce the potential for criminal and terrorist misuse of crypto asset sector. The IMF FSB working paper sets out a roadmap to ensure effective, flexible, and coordinated implementation of the comprehensive policy response to crypto assets. According to the working paper, the first review of the progress made in implementing the proposed measures should be completed by the end of 2025. SEC won't appeal in Grayscale case. GBTC can become a Bitcoin ETF. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC for short, the federal agency responsible for regulating and overseeing the securities industry in the U.S., had until Friday, October 13th to decide whether to appeal the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals decision last August that the SEC's denial of Grayscale investment application to convert the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBTC for short, the world's largest cryptocurrency fund, currently with $21 billion in assets under management, into an ETF was invalid and needed to be reviewed. Grayscale first filed to convert the GBTC into an ETF in October of 2021. In the court decision last August, the judges stated that the SEC recently approved the trading of 2 Bitcoin futures funds on national exchanges, but denied approval of Grayscale's Bitcoin fund, and that for federal agencies. It is a fundamental principle of administrative law that agencies must treat like causes alike. The SEC had until October 13th to appeal the court's decision. However, it let that deadline pass. It remains to be seen what the consequences of the decision will be, but it is likely to increase the political and legal pressure on the SEC. According to the press release from Grayscale and its CEO, winning the lawsuit is a historic milestone for American investors, the Bitcoin ecosystem, and all those who have been advocating for Bitcoin exposure through the added protections of the ETF wrapper. And that is all for today's Cosmos Ecosystem Bi-Weekly Review. So if you enjoyed it, Cosmonauts, remember to click that like button, subscribe button, and bell icon too. Congratulations again to the DYDX community for the successful launch. If you want to support our research about DYDX, you can follow the link below to stake DYDX with a Cosmic Validator. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you, Cosmonauts, very soon in the next episode.